maybe that's the case. Okay, ready? Okay, aloha everyone. Christine Sakuda here, State CIO with the Office of Enterprise Technology Services. I would like to call the Information Technology Steering Committee meeting to order on January 14th at 12:31. Thank you. We do have quorum, and we ask that all of the committee members please show yourselves on screen virtually so we can count you in. And I'm going to turn it over to Joanna Lee to take roll call. Thank you.
I'll be conducting roll call, and if members of the committee could say whether you are alone or if anyone is with you. So Christine Sakuda.
I am here in the conference room with one person, Joanna Lee. No other people are here. Thank you.
Michael Nishida.
Present, alone.
Bill Kumagai.
Present, alone.
Marcus Yano. Hayo Yamashita. Benson Chu. Joe Kumabe.
Present, alone.
Sharon Moriwaki. Jean Chang.
Present, alone.
Arno Kishi.
Present, alone.
Mai Nguyen Van.
Present, alone.
Michael Otsuji. Garrett Yoshimi.
Present and alone.
Okay, we have quorum.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. We are going to move on to the next agenda item, which is public testimony. Public testimony on editing.
Sorry, real quick. Sorry, can the members of the committee make sure their cameras are turned on?
Thank you, Joanna. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So we are going to continue on to the second agenda item, which is public testimony. Public testimony on any item relevant to this agenda may be taken at any time. Comments and testimony will also be taken immediately before each agenda item. Public comment on issues not on the agenda will be accepted, but not discussed further until properly included in a future meeting agenda. Testimony and comments are requested to be limited to 3 minutes. Thank you very much. So at this time, is there any public testimony? If there is, they just naturally unmute themselves.
Think
Or
so.
raise your hand. Okay. Thank you. Mahalo. Not seeing any public testimony. We're going to continue on to the next agenda item, which are legislative updates. Are there any comments or testimony from the public regarding the legislative updates before we proceed? Thank you. Okay, so please, Joanna, advance to the slides. Thank you, committee members. It was important for me to share with the IT steering committee what our extra budget requests are, special project requests are. And I'm going to go through them quickly. If you have questions, in the interest of time, I'd like to just ask that you save your questions until the end of the presentation, and then we will, be kind of open for questions. So we're pulling up the slide deck now. Thank you for your patience. And the packet is also posted in the IT steering committee website in the packet information. So if for those of you that are not able to see it, it's located there. Okay, thank you. So next slide. So we just wanted to highlight, I just wanted to highlight for the IT steering committee what are some of our kind of major budget requests in this legislative session that made it into the administrative packet. So the first is we're requesting to add funds for the Microsoft Enterprise Agreement subscription. This is to move the enterprise licenses from G3 to G5. And to fund, 5 years of the Microsoft license. This license includes phone capability through Teams and all the added benefits of cybersecurity, AI readiness, and data analytics, for example. The license does not include Copilot itself, that's extra, but we wanted to, we are organizing, administrating the G5 license for the state. And so this request is for, to fund the next year of the license and for the next 5 years. So that's the Microsoft G5 license. We're really excited about it. Some of the state departments have moved to the Teams phone system. And, it really supports the hybrid work environment. People can engage fully in their Microsoft suite of products through Teams, answer phone calls. ETS has used this and it's been very, very useful. Thank you. Okay, next agenda item is requesting adding funds for cybersecurity risk mitigation. We have done, knock on wood, have a great team that supports our cybersecurity, readiness, and the additional funds will help us to improve resilience in government services, address known critical technology gaps, and meet federal requirements to receive data and funding. And so, we continue to implement our cyber readiness program, cybersecurity program, and we're looking for additional funds to support that. Thank you. Next agenda item adds funds to the Highwind telecommunication system maintenance and warranty. So this is for maintenance. And the Highwind system supports you'll see here, I believe this is Maui, but the radio towers across the state that support the walkie-talkie systems that emergency responders use, among others, to communicate well. And so ETS maintains these systems, and we're requesting funds to just maintain and operate the systems across the network. Thank you. Next slide. So this is priority 26. Like the Microsoft Enterprise license, we also support the Adobe Enterprise license, and so this is just a renewal. We have to ask for support from the legislature every year, like Adobe and Microsoft, for the enterprise licenses. And so this total is for $150,000 additional. Okay, priority 27, we are requesting to add funds for advisory services. This is one of the few items in our budget that's sort of forward-looking. ETS manages the state IT strategic plan, updates to the consolidation plan, and this request really enables ETS to research best practices of critical components of supporting IT within state government, like cybersecurity, data and AI, enterprise strategies, operation models. And so we are requesting funds to really support this so we can bring all of those best practices into ETS in support of the state. The next budget priority is to add funds for the data center decommission and migration services. As many of you know, within the Kalani Moku building, we are in the process of maturing the legacy systems that are currently managed by ETS onto more stable framework. Ultimately, we'd like to move the infrastructure out of the data center, and we're trying to create a definitive plan to move infrastructure and services onto a more sustainable network. So this request for funds of $1.6 million really supports our ability to migrate efficiently and effectively out of the data center so that we can decommission legacy infrastructure. The next priority is priority 29, adds funds for IB&V. So this is the independent verification and validation work. This specific funding request is for the first year to support the enterprise financial system modernization work. And so it's in our budget to support this effort. And when the EFS system is in operations, then additional requests to support IB&V on an ongoing effort is going to be the case. Okay, priority 30 is adding funds for Microsoft Cloud backup and disaster recovery. So this ensures that business continuity and data integrity of the state data is maintained in the Microsoft Cloud. If it's not funded, the state must continue to accept risk of the above data loss scenarios and may impact cyber liability insurance premiums that the state pays. This is part of our resiliency efforts. Thank you, Jean. I see your hand up. I'm just going to finish the rest and we'll go back to Q&A. Thank you. So priority 32 is to add funds to establish a data and AI office and AI risk management tool and geospatial licensing renewal. There's a lot packed in here. And a more detailed update is going to be provided by our Chief Data Officer, Rebecca Kai, in a subsequent agenda item. But I wanted to share with the IT Steering Committee here under this agenda item that this adds funds to build capacity within ETS to manage data sharing and data governance on behalf of the state. Priority 38 adds funds for digitalization of control and client service binders. So, within the data center, we have manuals to operate some of our equipment that are in paper form, and we want to put them into a digitized form, one, in case of emergency, two, in case, something happens, since the data center is within the basement. This is another effort to build resiliency in our continued efforts to support the system as we have people that are, starting to retire. And we want to make sure that all the knowledge is maintained and kept to support the system moving forward. So that is the highlights of our budget request, and happy to take any questions at this time. Jean.
Yes, I'm looking for time to discuss the IVNV. A few months ago, I took a very close look at it, and there are some weaknesses in its methodology that affects its effectiveness in how to manage projects. So I know you have a timeline for working with the legislature, but I'd like to make sure that there is a plan for discussing the IVNV.
Okay, noted. Thank you. And we'll can work to add that onto the agenda. And you may get some questions answered, Jean. We took your last in the last IT Steering Committee, you had raised a question about the RFP process, and we heard you. And on the agenda, which is agenda item number 4, we wanted to talk about the request for proposal process, and maybe some of that will answer some of your questions. If not, then we can definitely work with you to make sure we add that to the next agenda item for the ITSC in a meaningful way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's see, Michael Nishida, what kind of
Hey,
question do you have today?
Hey,
Aloha.
Christine, aloha. Got a quick question on cybersecurity. most
Okay.
of the initiatives have a specific target, whether you're buying a license for Adobe or Microsoft. But on the cybersecurity one, it's kind of a broad, overreaching of initiatives. Do you guys have a specific idea of what you want to use the 1.6 million? Secondly, in some of the other slides, you also say that you buying cyber insurance and all that stuff. Are you duplicating costs in other categories because this one is addressing cybersecurity, insurance, and several other initiatives?
Right, thank you. And maybe the information is not as clear, or went over it very quickly, Michael, that we tried to beef up our cybersecurity program to minimize liability insurance and cyber insurance. I believe the cyber insurance is managed by another division within DAGS. And so we don't buy the cyber insurance. I'm looking to see if Vince is on the call. If he's not on the call, then we can take the question and get back to you, Michael, but we definitely don't duplicate efforts. You know, cyber insurance for the state is bought centrally. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that we have all of the, make our best efforts to have mitigations in place in the right place to make sure we're keeping the network as secure as possible.
So
that's
you do have a plan on how you want to spend individual line items on how you want to spend the $1.6 million. And it's not just a broad category called cybersecurity.
Yes.
Okay. And one final last question. I see numbers like priority number 28, 38, but it's not sequential. Are there other initiatives that are in there, or these are the?
Yes, good question. Good question, Michael. So when ETS puts their budget proposal together, then all of the budget items in our original request is sequenced, and not all of the budget items makes it into the administrative package. And so those items are taken off. So we're not sharing those in the interest of time, the ones that are not funded, and that's where you see the gaps in the numbers.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Joel.
Yeah, thank you. And this might be located somewhere else in the budget, but you know, with the sunset of Windows 10 this coming year, is that budgeted in the individual departments, or is that something that will be included in this budget? So that's mostly hardware related costs because a lot of the processors are not compatible with Windows 11. So I'm just wondering where that would sit.
Thank you for that question, Joel. The sunsetting of Windows 10 let me see let's see who's here. Is Tom here? So I'm gonna ask Joanna to see if Tom is here. And if Tom, if you are here, if you can come on screen, that would be great. But it hasn't risen to the level of its own priority. So I honestly have to get back to you, Joel. Within the departments, I'm thinking that they address their own management of Windows 10 and the sunsetting of Windows 10, and ETS is there to support that effort through current existing, operations and not anything additional. But if there's something that we're missing in a level of effort that requires, us to kind of revisit what that strategy is, we're happy to do so.
Okay, yeah, it's because a lot of it has to do with purchasing new computers because the old computers are not compatible, and that's a pretty significant capital expenditure. So I was just wondering where that would sit in the overall budget.
Yeah, Joel. Yeah, this is Tom Koo coming on.
Thanks, Tom.
My desktop version for some reason hung, so I'm using my phone now. But it's all hardware purchases, stuff like that, is handled within the agencies themselves.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Joe, did you have another question?
Oh, no, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bill, I see your hand raised. Thank you.
Thank you. On the Microsoft Enterprise Agreement subscription, there's a license number assumption associated with that, right? And I was just curious about how those costs are allocated or not, and what happens when the number fluctuates, right? So either incurring additional costs, or if the state for some reason cuts back in terms of its overall funding for something like that, how are those adjustments made, and in the best way from a state perspective?
Thank you. And I'll ask Tom again to get on, but my answer to that, Bill, is that the team at ETS determines conservatively the number of enterprise Microsoft licenses, what the demand is for the Microsoft licenses across the department. So we reach out to all of the departments and we say, how many users do you have that you estimate, are going to increase over time? And we add a little bit to that. So it's a conservative estimate. If we highly go under, since we've been using Microsoft Office for a while, then I'm going to guess there's flexibility within the agreement. But I'm going to ask Tom if he has anything to add to that. So we pay based off of the subscription up to 14,500 licenses.
Yeah, and it's looked upon every year to see if there's any kind of major increases and such, but normally it falls under our main license.
Okay, I'm familiar with a number of different ways of funding, like this central funding and making the best estimates possible, and various forms of cost allocation on this. And it just strikes me that there are some types of licenses, whether or not Microsoft is the one, that are largely based on business decisions by individual departments, in which case, is it appropriate to actually allocate those costs so that if departments increase their share of the allocation or something like that, it's represented, done in a fair way. So I just raised the question of something maybe we should take a look at as we go forward to make sure there's an appropriate model for those kinds of things.
Yes, thank you, Bill. I mean, whoops, what happened? Oh, sorry, you got off screen for a second. Thank you, Bill. Happy to look at it more. I think originally the number was 12,000 licenses, and as more and more people within the departments adopt the Microsoft Teams, and especially with the jump up to G5, this was the estimate not to exceed. And so, happy to kind of have an offline conversation, to answer any more questions. But we are taking a close look at our enterprise license strategy in general to make sure that we're making the most of the state's, resources. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, thank you for your questions. In the interest of time, I'm going to move forward in the agenda and move to the next agenda item, which is, let's see. Okay, an update of the CIO annual report and state IT strategic plan presented to the legislature. So Jana's scrolling through, but first of all, I want to thank the ETS team who worked tirelessly and very hard, as well as some of our key partners, to help us deliver the CIO annual report to the legislature, as well as the state IT strategic plan in December. So it's posted online. I mean, it gets delivered to the Speaker of the House and the Senate President. It gets distributed. It's posted on the ETS website, and it's also posted in the it's posted on the ETS website under reports. And it's also for today in the IT steering committee packet. So we actually tried to make the first is the CIO annual report that you're seeing here. I asked the IT steering committee members to take a good look at it. We're trying to make the report very meaningful for you, very informative. It captures and highlights the accomplishments that we've done in the last year, the progress that we made as far as the annual report. Moving forward, we probably want to add more pictures in it, and you're trying to just really kind of have it reflect the level of activity that ETS does on behalf of the state. So the second report, as Joanna is scrolling down, is the state IT strategic plan. So I mentioned this before, the final plan is here, and now that the state IT strategic plan has been submitted to the legislature, ETS, as a steward of that plan, is really working on next steps to operationalize that plan. And that includes working with the IT steering committee, the cabinet leadership, the IT directors across the state to provide an overview of the plan. And so we don't have on the agenda item to kind of go over the state IT strategic plan in detail this meeting, but we can do that in the next meeting. And I really think it's a great opportunity, since it's part of the charter of the ITSC, to support the state IT strategic plan, and would love to hear from the members, how, what could that look like? And so please take a look at the plan, the final plan, and let me know if you have any questions or concerns or comments, especially moving forward. And, we look forward to further engagement on these documents. Does anyone have any questions related to the CIO annual report and the state IT strategic plan? Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item number 4, the enterprise financial system modernization. So we asked the EFS team to provide an overview of the EFS request for proposal process. That was a question that came out of the last IT steering committee meeting. And so before I go any further and invite our ETS staff member, Greg Dowling, to provide an overview, does the public have any comment on this agenda item at this time? Great, thank you. Okay, so I'd like to invite our EFS, Enterprise Financial System Modernization Project Manager, Greg Dowling, to come on screen, Greg. And we appreciate the overview that you would be providing to the IT steering committee members today. Thank you.
Sure thing. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Greg Dowling. I'm the program manager overseeing the procurement of the enterprise financial system for the state. Joanna, do you want me to drive in my PowerPoint, or you go just scrolling? Sorry.
Up to you.
Okay, let's go next slide then, make it easier. Save time. Thank you. Yeah, so just to cap right now, so I believe, we did a presentation a few months ago providing overview of what EFS is and what it's about. This particular focus right now is the procurement process from start to end. Just to please note that to protect the integrity of the impending RFP to be released, there's only so much information I can say, as I want to make sure that the RFP is equitable and fair to all potential bidders as we move forward. So just please note that. I'll try my best to answer any questions I can. But to get started right now, so this slide is a little familiar, but the main vision of EFS right now is really a business transformation project where we're trying to replace FAMUS, which has been the state's central accounting system for well over 55 years, long before I was born. So hence the age of that system, but it's really been the core system that has been processing all the payments and transactions for the state since the early 70s at this point. The goal of that right now is really to replace that system with something modern and built on latest technology, so preferably like a SaaS platform with the latest in cybersecurity practices in order to enable the state in the future. A good example right now for the last one is accurate report and report transactions. So as of right now, the ACFR, or the report that state has to put out every year and required by the first, it takes roughly 6 months to do it right now. With a modern system, it could take less than a month. So really does help drive the state forward and to make an automation a reality and reduce some of our reliability on paper and manual processes as we do today. Next slide, please. So to do a breakdown of the process right now, so there's roughly 9 steps involved from the process here that I will go through in detail on the future slides, going from developing the RFP all the way to issue of award and posting it to the state's procurement system. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. Thank you. So as of right now, currently, what the activity we've been ongoing now for about the past year has been developing the RFP. The good news right now is the RFP has been developed and has been completed. Requirements are captured, all the required paperwork is there. What we're going through right now is a legal review with the Attorney General's office, just to ensure that the RFP is on a good place and is protecting the state as we move forward, ensuring we have the right information involved and taken care of there. What happens is once we get the all clear, we would plan out the schedule of events right now. And the first thing we would do is, of course, posting the RFP to HiPro. HiPro is the state's official electronic procurement system hosted by the State Procurement Office. This system allows and openly invites the public to view the RFP, provide Q&As and all that such to help make it an informative process. So that is very clear and transparent, and that anything that is released in terms of questions and answers always go through HiPro, so that there's no people like saying emailing me questions. It'll all be publicly posted and always present there. Once the RFP is posted, the first thing we do conduct is a pre-proposal conference. The conference is hosted usually by the procurement officer in this case to help make the public and potential bidders aware of what the RFP is, give an administrative overview, what the goals of it is, and allows also the executive sponsors or whoever is heavily involved in the project to help present the vision to the public. Since this is something that anyone can attend, it is available and minutes are posted and in accordance after the conference is completed. Next slide, please. Once the pre-proposal conference is over, we enter something called a Q&A period. This is a time where vendors are allowed to comb through the RFP and really get a detailed look at it and also submit questions. These questions can range from anywhere from like 100 questions I've done in the past and maybe over 300 questions from the vendors. During this time right now, vendors have roughly, in our timeline, roughly 2 weeks to really look at the RFP and submit questions. During that, once they submit all the questions right now, the state, in terms of the EFS project team, will have roughly 2 weeks, maybe 3, depending on the length of the questions, to review and respond to them accordingly. A lot of the questions tend to be duplicative. Every vendor tends to have the same type of questions, and then there's ones that really find something that, at a worst case, may require either an addenda to be issued with modifications to the RFP, which will be posted to HiPro or the state's e-procurement solution. So this is really the big time right now for us to make changes and updates to the RFP if necessary and if found. So this is really the vendor's opportunity to really ensure that they understand the requirements and how we can move the RFP forward. Next slide, please. Phase 3, so proposal and submission. So this is where we start receiving responses from various vendors. This is right now, due to the complexity and the large scale of this RFP, vendors will probably be allowed a lot more time. I believe right at the top of my head, for state procurement rules, they have a minimum of 30 calendar days. We may be extending that to a little bit longer, depending at that schedule we finalized once we get the RFP cleared and the key stakeholders agree with the timeline being established. But during that time right now, the evaluation committee, the various committee members who are part of that, would review all the proposals that do come in. This is definitely kept in a closed environment right now due to ongoing procurement, so we don't have any invalid integrities of the RFP. We review basically, these key metrics, the experience of the vendors, their cost, their proposals, and the solution that they are presenting to us as part of their EFS package from pretty much A to Z. Once we do finish the initial reviews, either all qualified vendors or ones that have been selected or priority listed in this case would be invited for in-person vendor demonstrations where they will be scheduled to attend a scripted event here at the state, usually in person, and we'll have attendees that may be via Teams, for example, to demonstrate their capabilities. But one key thing is they must follow provide a script from the state right now to ensure that we cover the exact points we need and the vendors do not jump around. And this also allows people to keep track of where they're at in terms of presenting their solution. And then after the demos are done, right now, the evaluation committee will have an opportunity again to review and revise our scores based on the feedback they received from the in-person demos. Next slide, please. And the next phase right now is best and final offer, or AKA BEFO. This is where we have an opportunity where, say, for example, we have 2 vendors that we've shortlisted that we've like to move forward with right now. We have the opportunity right now to enter a BAFO period. It can, as mentioned, be more than 1 vendor if we want to see what their best and final offer is. This gives a vendor's opportunity to either make adjustments to their proposals or even like sharpen their pencils, more or less, if anything, to help them move forward. And then we would evaluate the final submissions for next steps, which is the vendor selection. Next slide, please. And then eventually at this point right now, the evaluation committee would review it and tabulate all the scores and then select the winning vendor, in this case, for the EFS project. Once it's been selected right now, it would be a responsibility to post the notice of award to HIPRO, which is the state's procurement system. So that'll be made public, and all vendors that may have bid it or are following the procurement are aware of who won that bid in this case here. Next slide, please. Okay, there you go. So why this process matters. So as mentioned right now, so we want to keep this as a fair and open bid to allow the vendors a opportunity to really have an equal opportunity. Sorry, equal opportunity to submit a bid on behalf of the state, because we do want to be transparent and offer equal fairness. Ensure, of course, the most qualified vendor is selected and that the vendors that are selected are aligning with the project requirements. Hence the attentive detail to allowing the vendors to submit a proposal and also perform an in-person demonstration to see that the systems are capable, because there is plenty of vendors out there, well, not plenty, but there's a handful of vendors out there that, shown capabilities. And we met with different states, for example, seeing what's out there in the market. So we're confident that at the end of this RFP process, we'll select a vendor that is more than capable of bringing the state of Hawaii to the 21st century. Other than that, my last slide is just a Mahalo slide. Any questions per se regarding the RFP process I can answer? Eugene?
Thanks for the overview. One of the things that I'm interested in is taking a look at the deliverables and the acceptance criteria, and trying to read between the lines about that. Clearly, that's I'm especially interested since that was the root of the failure of the last project, and
Right.
so I'm very interested in seeing how we're defining the deliverables and how you're going to consider them met.
Yeah, I understand. So yeah, one thing that we are changing right now that's pretty open right now is there is going to be something the vendors must, there's something called the ETS Project Management Framework that was introduced. Right now that has various requirements right now that the vendors must meet or exceed as part of their proposals. So that's something that is going to be part of the RFP. The vendors must, provide that they've read the framework and that they will align to it. So good example right now, say deliverable A is something that is like, say, go live, right, of the vendors vendor solution, I'll put it that way. The vendor must have these quality gates passed in order to accept the deliverable to be accepted and made. So there will be various metrics right now where we're holding the vendor accountable, and they cannot say, cherry pick where they want to work on deliverables that are, paid and allowed to move forward. So there is going to be kind of like mechanisms in place before they can move forward and get paid or get deliverables accepted by the state. So there'll be various reviews and committees in place during the not RFP, but during the implementation process before we move forward.
Are you referring to qualifications and capabilities, or are you referring to the results of a milestone that's delivered?
Right now, based on what your question was, is milestones being delivered? So like deliverable,
Okay.
deliverable, right? Yeah.
Because those details affect dollars and cents, right, in terms of the calculation of the bid.
If you're looking at the RFP, sorry, you're looking at the proposal reviewing itself right now. Yes, there is if you're talking about how we're going to evaluate proposals, yes, there is a detailed requirements and a price catalog and also a list of deliverables they have to provide to us as part of their RFP process, which is typical in any state procurement. So that will be reviewed. We have various, not just evaluation committee members, but various SMEs across all areas that are covering EFS that will assist in evaluating those factors. So we're not going to have just people like that, like reviewing that are not SMEs in that respective area.
Okay, thank you. I see another hand up. Thank you, Jean. I'm just gonna move over to get the next question from Joel. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Real quick. For the phases 1 through 3, what percentage of the committee consists of the stakeholder departments versus IT?
I'll say right now, I cannot say the members of the committee right now, but only I'll say one is IT. The rest is pure people, most people who have a stake in the process with the state in terms of the business itself.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Greg.
Sure.
Appreciate
Thank
the
you.
overview. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item number 5, data and AI strategy update with our Chief Data Officer, Rebecca Kai. So as she kind of comes on to the screen, I wanted to ask if anyone from the public is interested in providing public comment or testimony on this agenda item at this time. Not seeing any. Thank you. I would like to introduce our Chief Data Officer, Rebecca Kai, to give an update on the data and AI strategy. Thank you. Rebecca, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
All right, so we have 4 slides today. The first one is giving an overview on all our activities and achievements for the summary of 2024. We are a team of 2, including me. So we started with the data and AI vision strategy guiding principles. Then we moved on to data AI policies and guidelines. Later slides have details, and architecture design for the shared data. With this, we created, along with the data policies, as we created data policy and the guidelines, we're creating data and AI glossary to be published on the data.hawaii.gov. You can see all our deliverables there. And we created data literacy training published on data.hawaii.gov as well. And AI literacy training is a pending website development right now. So the content we work with a vendor have them available as a scholarship to the Hawaii residents. We just need to have a technical form to be developed on the website to get it published. So now if we move on to slide number 2, that's our data and AI vision, mission, and the strategy. You can see that there are 5 goals. All our activities and deliverables are aligned with those 5 goals. You can see later on. If we move on to slide number 3, we reviewed the strategy in prior steering committee meeting, I think in April. And slide 3 has all our major deliverables for the year. We focus on 14 deliverables with 10 completed in 2024 and 4 to be completed in 2025. Out of those 10 deliverables, we have the glossary, the literacy training I mentioned before. There are also 7 completed data policy documents. We changed all of them to guidelines because we don't have the by law, the enforcement authority or resources to enforce it. So we changed based on the feedback from the data task force, we changed all of them to guidelines. So 7 of them are completed and reviewed by data task force. 6 of them were reviewed and by the data task force in the December meeting. Now we're just pending on the AG final review before they can be published on data.hawaii.gov. that's the policy and the guideline deliverables. The last slide has our architecture. At the bottom, the little island you see at the bottom are each departments. Department has their own ecosystem that's optimized for their own operation, but they are not optimized for data sharing with other departments. And it shouldn't be their job to worry about how other departments use their data. So that's when the statewide data platform can come into play, where we can facilitate the data sharing. All the shared data can be up on this middle section where the statewide data and AI platform. If the data is only used for that department's own operation, there's no need to duplicate it up there. But if the data is needed for someone outside of that department to make decisions or to facilitate someone, some other departments or the governor's offices or the legislature making certain decisions, we want to put them in a shared data platform. But when data is shared, because each department is designing their own systems for their own operations, right? So the region for one department could be defined different than another region in another department. So right now, when the data is shared, due to the compliance reasons, one department might have to aggregate data up to their own region in order to share with another department. But the receiving department have a different region definition. So when they receive the aggregated data, they can't just use it as it is. So there are a lot of effort have to try to de-aggregate the data and then roll it back up to their region. So with this middle layer, if we can have a master data management tool where we define master data region as a master data, we link into the different, we understand the different different definitions across different departments. When one department is sharing data with another department with different region definition, I can choose to roll data up, aggregate the data up based on the receiving department's region definition. So in that case, they would be able to use it as it is. Another way of saying a benefit of having master data management tool is, for example, during the Maui wildfire, the survivors, they had to provide the same information to different programs in order to receive benefit, even though some of the programs might be coming from same department. So they have to keep giving the information. Why is that? Because we don't have a master data record for that citizen exist with the state. So with the citizen's consent, and we can share such information in order for them to receive different benefits. They don't have to repeat their story, resubmitting the same documents over and over again. So that's one of the tools we ask for the master data management. Another one is data can be everywhere. And there's no cataloging on saying that, hey, I'm looking for some data. And then there's this magical tool tell me, oh, this department has this part of this set of data. This department has that set of the data. Those are the data sets and those are the data owners. I can just click on request access and the data owner automatically get notified, can just approve my access so I can speed up my decision making. There's no tool like that exist. So that's the data governance tool we're looking for right now. And we submit the budget for, where you can catalog the data, you can search for the data that you need, and the data owners can truly have the ownership of their own data. They can control who has access to them. They can revoke access as the law changes. So that's the data governance tool. And once I have this data and I approve access for that sharing, but I don't feel comfortable of emailing that data over because I don't know, the receiving person might take that data to Starbucks and print it out, put it in Starbucks table and forget about it. So how can I make sure that they're using my data without printing? So that's this integrated data platform is in the middle, the cloud, where I can say that, hey, no download is allowed. You can use it to support any decision making, any process, government process as needed, but you can't print it out. So that's this powerful tool in the middle. It's basically three tools: data governance, master data management, and the data intelligence platform. Before, it was 20 years ago when I first started my career, it's called data warehousing. And then it's changed to data lake. Now the newer technology is called the lakehouse. So with those three tools combined together, we will be able to facilitate the sharing, improve the operational efficiencies across departments. So that will be it for the data and AI update from me. Thank you.
very much. Thank you, Rebecca. As you can see, to the IT steering committee members, we're ETS, led through Rebecca, is working really hard at trying to make sure we have a strategy to manage and share and govern our data assets across the state enterprise. And so we're going to go to some questions now. Bill, do you have a question?
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Bill.
I love the vision on this slide. And so my question really is, how far are we along the way towards fruition on this? Is from a buy-in standpoint across the state and the concept to funding, to resources, to commitments, right? From, potential anchor tenants, who are going to use the lake house, that kind of stuff. Could you kind of give us an idea of where we are in that process?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's a great question. Data and AI projects should never be a big bang. You don't want to bring all the data together, because
Right.
everyone's creating new data today. So there's no way we can finish governing, consolidating all the data. It's a journey. So to ensure success, taking small steps and business-focused small steps based on use cases, that's really important. That's our approach. So we have been working with different departments. We got buy-in from departments. Actually, the budget ask, the reason we're asking for 4 tools with such a low amount is because departments are willing to share the cost. They're willing to chip in, because within each department, they could have different divisions. They need to share data as well. So the master data management, data governance tool not only help the statewide sharing and also help within departments. Many departments, they don't have a cataloging tool today. They don't know what data they have. So that will be helpful. So they are willing to chip in and on data governance, master data management, and as well as the data platform tools. Yeah, so we want to have small steps and taking use case by use case so we can measure the impact and we can show the success. And some departments might not be ready, they might be hesitating, that's okay. And when they see the success from other departments, they will be more willing. It's the same thing with the private sector, change management, right? You don't have to bring everyone the same, because everyone coming from the different background, they have different challenges. Yeah. So hopefully we can get the budget approval.
Keep our fingers crossed for that funding. Thank you. Let's see, I think that's Jean. Jean, do you have your hand up?
Yes. So
Thank you.
I was looking at your first few slides and what you're doing with the AI strategy, which is a very difficult area to try to organize, especially with the world, a lot of people rushing forward to apply the latest AI tools. How are you? Do you have a philosophy about dealing with AI tools in terms of some that are mature and well established, and some that are basically beta testing that's being forked on the world, hoping to, and they could change under us if people use them?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. AI is advancing so fast, right? Everyone's catching up on it, and it can improve operational efficiency a lot, especially when we are average 20-30% short of staffing for the state government. So we can't afford to wait, but we have to use it in a governed way. So one of the policies we actually will be published after the review is about the Gen AI assistance tool technology, including the co-pilots, what are you supposed to use, what data. So the biggest concern, several things. One is what data you put in there, right? You don't want to accidentally leak out confidential information or PII, personal identifiable information in it. The second thing is how much can you trust it? If garbage in, garbage out is more the case with AI. So that's why the data governance tool is so critical now. We can use it to improve the data quality. At least we can tag the data quality. It's green, yellow, or red. So if the quality is bad, I know that I can't trust it that much. And the third thing is you always have a human in the loop. You always have someone to review the content. You should never ever ask AI to generate something. And then you just, hey, that's a newspaper article. It's all AI generated. It should never be that. And then the fourth thing is about the copyright issues. You can't use someone copyrighted information and then create something that invade their copyright. So those are the four things. And the kind of the auditing and the risk management part of the AI, every vendor has their own testing philosophy right now. Like ChatGPT and Google, they don't follow the same criteria on testing. So that's why the state CDOs, we have an AI coalition. We're working on this to see that how we can best govern it. And would we be able to govern it 100% perfectly? I don't think so. But we are trying to make sure that we set the guideline in a way so we're using it in a responsible way, and nobody should trust it 100%. So that's the
Thank
key.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca. And we're going to take one more question. Michael has his hand up, and then we'll probably move on to the next agenda item. Thank you.
Hey, hi, Rebecca. Real quick question, and I'm not advocating for this, but I think you do need it. When it comes to resources, is it in your budget to get additional resources to help you with this? Or are you expecting the departments to do the categorization, and all you're doing is setting the guidelines and picking up the tool, but all the responsibilities will be left with the departments to do? Or is it your intent to centralize that type of functions?
Yeah, it will be a collaboration between ETS and the departments. We do need resources, but we do need heavy lifting from departments as well, because it's their data. They know it best.
So you think 2 people is enough to get this thing off the ground, or you need additional resources? And is it budgeted?
We do need additional resources. We need resources for data governance, data quality. We need resources for master data management. We need resources, data science, data engineering, data visualization. I can keep going, but we do need to have a minimum of number of resources we do need. Yeah, more than 2 for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I could just add to what Rebecca is saying, Michael, that we do have a $1.6 million request within the budget this year. I mean, it's not enough, but they're never enough across all of our programs, but it's a good start. And, we're hoping, if we're successful, to get the funding to not only, build the tools, but also start to build that capacity within ETS and across the departments, the human capacity across the departments as everyone gets more up to speed on organized data governance, using the tools and data management. So we're depending on Rebecca to help shepherd that along.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item number 6, the Hawaii Annual Code Challenge. We actually completed our 9th annual Hawaii Code Challenge this year. And a key person in the success of that is our Public Information Officer and our Communications Manager, James Gonzer. So I'm going to turn it over to him to provide some highlights of the hack this year. Thank you.
Aloha committee members, good to be here today. In November, we held our 9th annual Hawaii Code Challenge. It was out at UH West Oahu, which turns out to be a great venue, and we really appreciate UH's support and sponsorship in this. It was really well attended. There was more than 120 people there, and if you don't know the hack, this is where teams of high school, college, and young professionals form teams to write code for challenges to make state government better, to do projects that we can use, hopefully, within the state government. It is our major educational event at ETS. This is where we get students involved. We reach out to colleges and high schools. We get them to their teachers to invite them in to do these challenges. And we also, through UH and Chaminade and Hawaii
Pacific
Pacific.
University.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We reach out to them to supply teams as well, and often there's young professionals. So not only is it educational where we're reaching out, but it is also a workforce development project for us. We are looking for the young people that will be interested in technology and will hopefully, look for careers here in Hawaii to do this. So just a couple of highlights from it. We had 9 teams that were the winners. They took home $8,000 in prizes, and the prize money is pretty good. I mean, is that an incentive for a team to join up or what? But first place is 3,000, second is 2,000, and third place is 1,000. So we do get a lot of interest in the prize money as well. And this year, for the first time, we held a meet and greet after the challenge where we got all the sponsors to put up tables and actually take the time to meet with the kids that were involved. So we're working more on making that more successful in workforce development. Next year is our 10th event, 10 years of doing this. We're already working on developing sponsors. Transform Hawaii Government is one of them. We appreciate their continued support. And we're planning more workshops this year, and we're going to try to involve the high schools earlier. We didn't feel we had enough high school development or inclusion this year, so we're going to work on getting more high school teams involved. It's just a pleasure to see them writing the code and then making the presentations. They're so nervous about it, but they really are working towards learning all of that. So it was a great event, and I'm looking forward to the 10th one next November. Thank you.
Thank you, James. We have great partners in the community that really help us to put on the Hawaii Annual Code Challenge. I don't think we get state funding to host the Code Challenge, right, James? And so.
Right,
or do we
correct.
Yeah. And so, it takes a lot. We depend heavily on sponsors. James and his team work very hard with the departments to come up with the right kind of challenge. So that, that the students, the high school students, the college students are sort of our young dev tech teams will want to, respond to. So there's a lot of art, and skill in crafting the challenges that kind of meet the requirements of a code challenge, of a hack, our techies can apply for. And it's just a great workforce development experience. And in some cases, some of them have been, as was said, brought into the state to continue work. They're recruited by either the vendors or the state. This year, the vendors are really interested. The caliber of the students were very high this year, and the young adults. And so it's a great project for us. So, anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much, James. So we're going to move on to agenda item 7, the good of the order. And I just wanted to again ask the public that is in attendance if they have any public testimony or comment that they would like to share at this time. Thank you. Thank you. So to the IT steering committee members, any announcements? Questions, comments? Okay. I have a couple. One is that the next meeting for the IT steering committee meeting is happening at the end of February. So that was scheduled, and we're trying to have them, was it once a quarter? Once every two,
Occurs every 3 months on the fourth Thursday.
every 3 months on the fourth Thursday. So I'm going to be out of the office that day, so we're gonna be rescheduling that meeting. And looking to schedule either the next week after or the week before. So thank you in advance for, adjusting your schedules, since I'm gonna be out that week. And we have a little bit of time and happy to give that back to you. Otherwise, I'm happy to, wanted to share, a little bit more detail about the IT strategic plan, but I'm asking my AG if I can actually do that or not and go back to a previous agenda item. I don't know the answer to that, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything appropriately. And so, Candice, if you are there, is it possible to go back to a previous agenda item, or do we just table that to the next agenda item?
Hi, it's possible you can go back to the previous agenda item.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, so Joanna, if we can go back to the slide deck. I just wanted to take a little bit of time to go over the one page. It's like a placemat, but a one-page executive summary of the state IT strategic plan. I just give that to the steering committee to stew on for a bit, because it provides a very high level overview of, what is the thinking around how our priorities, our state priorities are shaping up, and how, what are we going to focus on over the next several months that we're going to start to kind of implement the plans. If you keep on going, thank you. And you have this in your packet. And it's in the landscape view. So if you keep on scrolling down, you're gonna hit it. Okay, there we go. So if we could just pause here for a second, I wanted to highlight that to you. Thank you. So this is a that right there. So this slide really captures our 7 major priorities, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, our 7 major priorities for the state IT strategic plan. And these priorities were cultivated, they're based off of the current state IT strategic plan that we had before, and with input, guided by the cabinet executive leadership from a business standpoint, as far as what their priorities are and what they need from IT to support their programmatic initiatives. And also quite a bit of input in from the IT directors across the departments that participated in a 3-day workshop. We refined the 7 priorities or strategies, is what we're calling them here, and then the goals underneath each one. So I just wanted to kind of take a few minutes to just highlight them for you to think about as we continue to move forward in 2025. So if we start at 12 o'clock and we go around the circle to all 7, the first one is to optimize process efficiency. So it was very important for our collective stakeholder group that we provide some focus on how can we improve efficiency and effectiveness of our key processes. And so the first 2 in particular are highly important for us, which is enable and optimize digital services for constituents. So how can we help the public get access to the services that they need as fast, effectively online as possible, but in person for those that need it in person as well. And how do we support the departments and their ability to do that? And then the second item there is integrate departmental IT planning and IT budgeting. So the state has a state IT strategic plan, and the departments are also supposed to have their own IT department's strategic plan that support their department's priorities. And we're supposed to be in harmony with one another so that we can build a effective, cohesive infrastructure that supports the state. And so, those really kind of surface, to the top. So I'm going to go over them, and just highlight them for you to kind of look on in a little bit more detail moving forward. But the second priority, kind of at 2:00, is improve system modernization. So improve the IT service lifecycle management, the IT architecture for each department, improve IT vendor delivery, and define architecture and technology standards. We're really looking at ways to improve system modernization across the enterprise. Then continuing on, the next strategy is to maximize the value of shared services. So this sort of appreciates that as a central IT office, we have the consolidated IT plan that the update didn't make it into this agenda, but we hope to update you in the next IT steering committee meeting. There's a big effort to explore what can we consolidate centrally in terms of IT, in addition to what can we offer as a shared service and what's best for departments to kind of run on their own. And so we've been doing a lot of partnership and research, and discussions with the departments on this, and it's important to ETS and has continued to emerge as a priority of what does that look like? What services are we talking about? And part of that is managing the statewide IT service catalog, which is the third bullet there. And of course, enabling an optimal ERP system to deliver business capabilities. So the next one at kind of 5:00 is provide business continuity and resiliency. This is around sort of our emergency response, building resiliency within our infrastructure, managing risks in our legacy applications, recovery efforts, things like that. Then, of course, can't do all of this without, modernizing and supporting the IT workforce. So we want to improve HR processes and talent acquisition. That was a pain point across a lot of the departments, is how do we bring on talent as effectively and efficiently as possible? So we have kind of a commitment across the departments to work on that, as well as, develop programs to support the current workforce, modernize IT job classifications and pay scales, and develop long-term workforce planning. And then heading around to 8:00, enhance cybersecurity posture. So of course, we continue to make sure that our infrastructure is secure as best as possible as technology constantly evolves, and the advent in particular of data and AI. And then the seventh strategy is to optimize responsible use of data and AI itself. And so protect privacy, ensure security and compliance, improve the quality, accuracy, and reliability of the data that we have. How do we steward that as best as possible? And kind of wrapped around our 7 priorities, of course, are the mission of the state IT strategic plan, which is to transform, sorry, I got to come up closer here. Transformative information and technology enriched government that serves the people of Hawaii and the INA. So these remains the same. Our mission is to enable technology enhanced, streamline business processes and decisions, empowering the state's workforce to serve excellent outcomes for the constituents and the INA. And then on the bottom right, we have strategic IT drivers, and of course, our guiding principles. And so this one page placemat, so to speak, really is designed to kind of capture the essence of what is in our strategic plan and how we're guided. And so with that, I know that I think, let's see, who's number 1? Okay, Jean has a question or comment, and then we're gonna go to Arnold. So Jean.
Yes, there's a lot of material here. Are quarterly meetings enough time to discuss these things?
Well, I think that's a question for the IT steering committee. So, you know,
I
I
mean, I
think
would like
that,
to feel that we done a good job supporting you and understanding these things. But a quarterly discussion feels like we're just gonna gloss over things and say, we have only two choices. Say, good job, Christine, whether we know it or not, a good job, or the other one is, not great.
yeah, I mean, there is a universe of activities here, and clearly, you know, we appreciate the support of the IT steering committee, and maybe it's a matter of focus, you know, and what's, you know, one or two things that perhaps the IT steering committee is interested in supporting, you know, or working on as we continue to, you know, work through, you know, and operationalize the strategic plan with the departments. It's a good question, Jean, that I'd ask all of the IT steering committee members to think about. You know, we don't want to convene just for the sake of it, and we're happy to organize more meetings if they're meaningful. We're trying to figure out what's the best way to leverage the experience of the IT steering committee in support of the strategic plan. So it's a great question, Jean, and thank you for bringing that up. As people think about that, and as committee members think about that, I'll go to Arnold, and then I'll ask, of course, if he's still on, because I can't see everyone on the screen, if our Vice Chair, Garrett Yoshimi, has any guidance or anything he'd like to add as well. And so Arnold, any questions or comments from you? Thank you.
Christine, just an observation. I think the budget proposals you had outlined earlier in the meeting all fit into different parts of this framework. So since you call this a placemat, I suppose that you and probably different people in ETS as well as members of the ITSC could be using this as explaining what IT goals and objectives the state has. So I think this seems to sum up well the financial proposal that you had highlighted earlier in the meeting.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I think it would be nice to, I think in another version, kind of connect the two together to see how the budget is supporting the plan. You know, we just didn't have the chance to get that far. Thank you, Arnold. Bill.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, kind of pick up on Jean Cheng's question on this. I feel like when we were asked earlier about the frequency of meetings, we had a range of opinions, you know, based on people's schedules and priorities. And the thought is maybe we can identify some sort of subcommittee types of items where people who have the time and the interest could focus more on certain things and report back to the overall group. Because I feel like to try to make one shoe fit all might not be the best way to go here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that, Bill. In the past, we have made subcommittees, which, you know, continue to fall underneath the sunshine rules, you know, and we want to make sure that we're kind of in compliance and affording engagement of both the public and members of the committee. But we've done it in the past. And so I think it's something, you know, for the IT committee members to think about, you know, what, you know, how they think they can help, but also a takeaway for me is to work with the ETS team. And we are thinking about this of what kind of help do we think we need based on what our priorities are, and how can we, what can we propose to the ITSC that we could, you know, appreciate your help with. And so I think on both ends, Bill, you know, we could
kind
of come together and have a meeting of minds about that.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah. Thank you. Arnold, did you have another question or comment, please?
Well, going back to Bill and Eugene's comments, I think we can all spend multiple days just looking at different parts of this plan. So I think from time commitment perspective, if the work group or the subcommittee structure that Bill is suggesting works, then I think folks on this committee can express interest if they want to discuss everything that's in this placemat, or if they want to focus on particular parts. You know, certain members might be more interested in cybersecurity versus workforce, and that might be an appropriate way to break it up, assuming that there is a will and commitment from the ITSC to actually do that.
Thank you, Arnold. Okay, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thanks, Christine. So to add on to the, I'll pile on all the other comments. I think a couple of the things that are important are to, obviously the budget alignment is very critical, in particular in terms of determining or trying to figure out how the ITSC can best apply its energies to help you and ETS. A couple of other comments relate to, I think we, as members of the ITSC, trying to, well, I won't put words in other people's mouths, but I think we would also be interested in understanding where you and your staff think we could be the most effective in terms of areas of need. We could spew on forever, and the idea would be to focus that in an area that is high value for you folks to move forward. In addition to, so for example, in addition to looking at how the budget request and your budget in general aligns to your, I'll say your mixed placemat, placemat, taking a look at what the 3 or 4 or 5 really big projects you have that are both high priority as well as high resource for ETS, because those really would tend to dictate where some of the strategic pushes might be the most useful coming out of the group. So, giving us hints like that in terms of trying to figure out where we could best plug in, and then try to take advantage of the folks across the committee, determining who has both available time as well as the will and the resource to be able to assist, would help us to maybe align our resource to best serve you. There's a couple of different procedural ways to do it. The most formal would be something like a permitted interaction group under the sunshine process. But there's also, the ability to align individual or 1 or 2 members of the committee with specific things that we could help and then help report back to the next committee meeting. I think the cadence of the meeting was important to try and balance out based on everybody's workload. But again, having said that, we want to be useful.
Thank you. But I think we can definitely take, I can take as a action item to get with the team, and we're thinking about it now, come back to ETS, the IT steering committee with what we think we'd like, what we would like help with, and what our priorities are, and just see where that lands with the IT steering committee. And then from there, kind of develop, either PIGs as needed or smaller groups, as you said, Garrett. Personally, I'm getting up to speed on what is available to ITSC and ETS as far as structure goes, so that we can move through effectively. But first is trying to identify what are the priority items. And so I think with that, that's a clear action item for us. And for you, the IT steering committee, thank you for your feedback and engagement today. And also thank you in advance for sort of thinking about what are some of the priorities that would be of interest to you. And then when we convene again in February or early March, we can set a course of action. By then, we'll have a clear idea of the ETS strategic and operational plan, which is another plan that we're working on, and that's supposed to be very, very integrated and compatible with the other plans that we're talking about. So we're very mindful that the state IT strategic plan is not the ETS plan, and we may have priorities within ETS for ETS that definitely support the state plan,
Right.
but, you know, they're not one and the same. And so I think as we head into the next IT steering committee meeting, you know, we really look forward to, you know, a robust discussion about both. And, you know, as Vice Chair Gary, I look forward to kind of crafting that agenda, you know, with you and the committee so that we make the most of our time together. So thank you. Thank you very much. All right, well, pledge session starts tomorrow. And so I'm saying all of this without even, you know, knowing what that's going to bring. You know, we will track high priority items. So I think also coming up on future agendas, you know, what's our legislative strategy for this year? We're not introducing any bills. Otherwise, you probably would have heard of them already, but we are tracking. Interesting things always emerge. And so, you know, we'll be sure to keep the ITSC updated. And I know we're just about out of time, so I just wanted to thank ETS staff for being in the meeting, on the call, you know, presenting the great work that we're doing, and then also IT steering committee, thank you. And we'll see you at the end of February or in early March. Oh, hold on a second. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you,
Just
Christine.
making sure I got everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.